Hey PSL, it's me, your mayor, Greg Oravec, and on today's edition of PSL Living, I'm honored to be in the studio with two longtime residents. You could even call them historians if you like, Mary Dodge and Christine Williams. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you just introduce yourself to Port St. Lucie, the city you love?
Well, I'm Mary Dodge. I've lived here since 1979, and for many years I was with the Port St. Lucie News, including being PSL Bureau Chief.
That's excellent. Thank you. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Christine.
Yes, I've been here actually before the city was formed. In 1961, I came a few years before that. My parents built the Shell Bazaar on a small site on US 1 in the middle of nowhere at that time. And I was born in Martin Memorial Hospital because Port St. Lucie did not have a hospital, and went to schools in Fort Pierce because Port St. Lucie did not have any schools at that time. And I've been a resident of St. Lucie County ever since. And I'm right back in the apartment where I was raised, running the Shell Bazaar for my parents, starting our 64th year now.
Well, thank you for being here too. So PSL, I mentioned that we were lucky. So we have someone who led the news when the news was the news, and we could rely on it, and we all read our paper in the morning and started our day, and it was the basis, the foundation of our democracy. It was the good old days, I guess. And then we have the owner of a landmark, and I hate to say that you're older than the city, but I guess it's technically...
That's my claim to fame.
It's technically correct, but I mean the owner of the landmark Shell Bazaar. So it's just so good to have you, and I think we're celebrating an anniversary, aren't we?
Right, it's the 20th anniversary of our incorporation. It was on April 27th.
Your incorporation, what do you mean by that?
The Port St. Lucie Historical Society.
Yeah, the Historical Society, thank you.
And there were, I didn't quite do my homework. It was Paula Lewis, Strauss Schreiber,
Joanne Holcomb,
and Cynthia Putnam-Trefellner.
and Miss Johnson, who was the clerk.
Sandy Johnson.
Sandy, I'm sorry.
Sandy K.
Yes.
Johnson, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, it might even be K as their middle initial.
Yes.
I've seen some documents.
Yes,
One or two.
They decided that these women needed to start saving some history, and we're very happy to say we have Paula Lewis back on our board now.
She's not as busy maybe now. She's not a county commissioner.
We caught her right when she retired.
Yeah, you guys are smart. Yeah.
We trying to get new members. Everybody laughs that Port St. Lucie has no history, but we're already, going into our 56th year. So there are things that we need to save. You should see a roadmap when Port St. Lucie wasn't on it. Just all these things, and we're trying to get people to save them, donate them to us, so that hopefully one day we will have a museum. Hopefully maybe on the Westmoreland project, if we can ask you and the council to let us have that. We're hoping to get a museum someday, and we're trying to get members of the general public to join our group and help us archive and save these things, so that in another 50 years or whenever, they'll be here for the people's grandchildren and everything to see. We have a very big oral history project that we're doing on people that have been here a long time. So if any of you out there have been here, say before the 80s, we're trying to get everybody right now, get in contact with us if we have not done an oral history, because we want to have that in we already have some of it on the website.
Right, and we have an archiving program with the professional museum art software. Please, if anybody donates anything, please tell us what date it is. That seems to be one of the
It's hard to guess, isn't it, Mary?
Yeah. And the Shell Bazaar is probably the best place if we're not having a gathering or you don't see us at a public event, to stop by and pick up a brochure or talk to Christine.
Now, I've always found it perhaps ironical, at least fascinating, that while the Shell Bazaar is the Port St. Lucie landmark, it's technically located in unincorporated St. Lucie County.
Yes.
I want you to feel free to annex anytime, Christine. I want you to, there's an open invitation. Okay. Let's take that little blip off of the map.
Thank you very much.
By all
That
means.
was GDC's fault.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, boy, couldn't we blame a lot on them?
Well, they didn't want to incorporate any place where there were people living because they might vote against having to pay
Their
extra
plans.
taxes.
And it's so funny. I'm sorry.
No,
It was
please.
so funny because we were the ranch east of US 1 because we had cows and horses and pigs, where now the ones west have annexed into the city. So, but you haven't got the one east of US 1 yet.
No. Well, we're going to get you someday. We're going to get you someday.
But we
Now-
enjoy serving all of the citizens of the city.
And that's why I say certainly you're a
Right.
landmark and you're part of the city. And we're lucky to have you as pioneers and champions for the city.
Well, that's also true of River Park, which is not in the city.
Well, they don't want to be in the city.
They don't want to be in the
Boy,
city.
I
but
have to tell you, I've
this is
spoken
okay.
to some River Park people.
But
to
Mary, I
go to a
think you'll
drink
agree
here.
with me. As the Historical Society, we would like some things that they have.
Well, plus it was platted as Port St. Lucie originally. That's what it was called until GDC did its thing again.
I know Sandpiper was the first planned subdivision, but River Park was there.
Yes, ma'am. And we have to be careful because we have the ability to speak in code because we have a certain familiarity with the city. So when we talk River Park, we're kind of talking about where Floresta and Prima Vista
Yes.
come together, and some of our older pre-existing areas, obviously. And then when we say things like Sandpiper was the first planned community, and we know that they're on certain entry signs even, the three of us know that there were certain people behind that, and it's kind of just even funny to think about and fun to think about. But probably not everyone has that richness of history. And that's a good reason to be involved with the Historical Society, and I really appreciate your call to action. How could an interested person out there in our viewing public, how could they learn more about the Historical Society and contact you to become part of it?
The best way is probably through the website. It's pslhistory.org. And there's a lot of history on there. We have our virtual museum waiting.
Are you waiting for a real home, a real life home? Is that what that's not what you're subtly hitting at?
Yeah, if you know anybody that could help us with that.
Oh boy, man! I didn't know you guys were this tough.
And there's an email
Or persuasive.
address.
Yes.
There's an email address there. And or stop by the Shell Bazaar if you're lucky enough to see Chris there. But her staff also knows where our book, our DVD that they did for the 50th anniversary.
And
Such a good book.
We
by the
didn't
way.
highlight that
Where could you get the book? The book is excellent.
Shell Bazaar
Shell Bazaar, you
Yes.
can just buy them right there.
or
you can go
online.
in.
or online.
Online.
Yes.
It is really informative. I want you to know that I reference it on a regular basis. We have 2 copies in the council office, and sometimes I even loan it out. But I'll stop doing that so you can have more sales.
Yes, please do. And we also, as you know, did a beautiful docudrama of the first 50 years.
Was that the City of Dreams? What was the name
Yes,
of the
City of
docudrama?
Dreams. Yes.
And I hope, and we have such a great behind the scenes staff here, I'm sure that they will drop in some notes and bars of the City of Dreams theme song
Yes.
in there. I'm going to do everyone a favor and not sing it, but once it's in your head, it's really in there.
It is beautiful, yes.
Christine, you're featured in that.
Yes.
I don't know. I think I remember you as a young girl running out to US 1 watching Army convoys or something go by.
Yes,
So
that
what's
is
your
true.
favorite story about what became PSL when you were growing up?
Well, I only had one friend down the road if I wanted a playmate. She lives, it was Cane Slough at the time. I think it's been officially called Port St. Lucie Boulevard on the east side of US 1, but to us that was Cane Slough. And she and I rode our horses and played with our animals. And at that time, there were 2 buses that came to Port St. Lucie. There were so few of us children. Probably one of the best memories is that I started dating one of the young men from school who rode the other bus, and he would bribe the school bus driver to stop in Sandpiper at the little general store. He'd buy her a candy bar so that she would let him off at the Shell Bazaar, and he would help my father with the cows and horses. And we eventually broke up, and you fast forward 39 years, we are now back together and living in the apartment above the store where I was raised. So I didn't really answer your question, I'm sorry. It was just the orange groves. Debbie, my friend, and I used to think we were very bad children because what is now East Lake, we would park our horses and then hop over the canal and steal some oranges and eat them.
Was it the lens? Was
Yes,
it
that
lens
was the
back
lenses,
then?
yes.
So you stole the
We
lenses.
yes.
I hope that the statute. I just hope that the limitations
Yes,
is
but we
up.
didn't. We didn't sell them. We only consumed them. So maybe that will.
Yeah, please. I hope the statute of limitations is up. Please, Chief, don't go after poor Christine for her citrus theft.
Don't forget we're in the county.
You weren't doing any cow wrangling or anything,
no,
were
no,
you?
no,
Okay.
no, no, no.
What a relief.
And we also, there was, the horse people are going to be so mad at me. I can't remember the name of it, but there was a disease that they got, and we had to take our horses and put them back on the other side of Leonard Road where those duplexes are. I forget the name of that.
Oh, like St. Lucie Gardens.
Yes, that was an area where the Coggins, the positive horses that had this disease were all back there, so they couldn't get contaminated by other mosquitoes flying from horse to horse.
We better not talk anymore of equine pestilence.
Okay.
All right.
This was 40 years ago. Well, no, more than that.
But, I think that you sharing your story reinforces this idea of why it's important to record oral history.
Yes.
Because if we don't pass it on, then it's lost to time, and what a shame that is. Now, our other guest, Mary, she was responsible for keeping our democracy alive, reporting on history. I mean, no small task.
You didn't talk to the mayors back then, what they thought.
What did they say about you back then?
Well, you could walk right in City Hall and go into the mayor's office and find out what was happening, or into the councilman's office.
You can still do that. I want you to know. What's one of your favorite stories?
Well, actually, there was something that just happened recently. This is not so much happened to me, but I'm a big fan of Bert Pruitt. I've written about him for magazines and stuff. He is the one who had the big fishing camp right near the Westmoreland property.
And just Westmoreland property, again, that's one of the things that we know when we know the Pruitt Fish Camp and on by all these different names. But we're talking about on Westmoreland and PSL Boulevard, you got the Botanical Gardens, and then you have the Westmoreland property.
Right.
You have the Preserve and the Anchorage, that Westmoreland property, Botanical Gardens area.
Yeah, well, he, for years, was the fishing guide for the rich and famous, the Rockefellers, Joe Namath, Ted Williams, from the early 40s to almost 1970. Among other things, he had pet alligators there that he could call by name, and they'd come up. He had one called Old One Eye, who was very old, obviously had one eye, and was about 14 feet long.
Oh, wow.
Somebody killed Old One Eye, and he was really upset because he says it was like killing a cow that was staked out. The thing was slow and dumb and whatever. But he wanted him to live on forever, so he took the head, got the skull, and gave it, there was no place else at the time, to the House of Refuge. Well, just a couple of weeks ago, Chris and I and a couple other members went down to the House of Refuge looking for Old One Eye's skull. It was 1957 when he gave it to them.
Wow.
It was spoken.
That predates the city.
Yeah, it was spoken of in 1972 in a newspaper article. We couldn't find it. Well, one of our other directors, Diane Aguiar, was in the little museum store there and said, we couldn't find Old One Eye's skull. And the guy there said, we don't know where it is. One of the old timers, a woman says, oh yeah, that's in storage. So we have our eye on that.
That would make a great exhibit especially if we ever had some museums operating on the Westmoreland property, especially to tell the whole story.
You mean when we do.
Exactly. Yes. And what a tragic story that it involves what probably Mr. Pruitt would characterize as the killing of a pet.
Yeah.
But it's history nonetheless. Yeah. That's fascinating.
We started a promotion, Save Old One Eye, bring Old One Eye home.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you can substantiate this. I just heard the other day that at the county-wide historic facility or museum that they have a sign from the Bert Pruitt Fish Camp.
It's been there for quite a while.
Do you think that we could get that if we had a museum? It seems apropos that it would be located on the site of the fish camp.
It seems so.
At least on loan.
Yeah. Either on loan, or maybe we can do a replica and maybe trade it out or something. There might be a way of getting it, I would think.
Well, you really provide us the perfect opportunity to talk to the public about the Westmoreland project. And it's one of the exciting things that we're working on. It's one of the city councils. It's on our priority list. And we're working on extending the boardwalk, the existing boardwalk that's north of the bridge,
So nice.
under the bridge, connecting to the Westmoreland property past Botanical Gardens, providing dockage, providing a performance area, waterfront dining, a park, and we're relocating 2 historic structures from a ranch out west. That's already in the works. So we're bringing those historic structures over. We've identified this in a plan.
Right.
And I foresee the city council, based on past representations by all council members, that we really want to see that operate as a museum facility. And we have to do what we have to do. We have to go through a request for proposals process. But we've had, I think, great success with Botanical Gardens and operating with a nonprofit partner, basically members of our community, to provide culture, recreation to our citizens. And I hope that we're going to do the same thing on the Westmoreland property with our museums. And I fully expect that you'll submit a bid for that, but we have to play it straight.
Right.
We have to see how the process plays out. But I certainly hope the people out there are watching and that they want to be part of the Port St. Lucie Historical Society, because the reality is we're creating history every day. So it doesn't matter if we're 56 or 156, we have to be aware of our history, we have to record it, and if we love our community, we should really be part of it. And please join Mary and Christine, please join our Historical Society, be part of PSL, be part of Port St. Lucie, be proud of it. And that's our edition of PSL Living for today. Ladies, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
If people enjoy hearing these stories, we do have monthly gatherings, mainly at Rick's Diner next to the Shell Bazaar, and we do share these stories. So that is another reason to become a member, so you can learn this history, not only for fun, but when we do get our museum, we'll need people to guide people around, and they can learn all this history. It's, as you said, very rich. Did you know that if you were original Port St. A general development lot owner, when you went to build a house, they had to bring your lot up to grade?
No, I did not.
If you find an original deed, because my mother was one, she bought a lot, $10 down, $10 a month. Actually, she bought 3, but things got so hard, she had to put it all into one. And we had her lot filled when she decided to build a house on it for my sister. General Development had to bring it up to grade. It was in the original deed.
I guess that's why you always read the fine print.
Yes, that's what we have. Lots of stories like that we'd like to share with everyone.
Well, that's incredible. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Now, PSL, we only want to relive the fun parts of our history. So be part of it, be proud of it. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you.